Did you come here to pray for her?
You killed her.
Everything I've ever cared about is gone. You took it from me.
I freed you.
Camera here?
After all these years, you're the only one that survived. Why kill her?
The Strangers Chapter 3 arrives as the final movement in a brutal, slow-burning nightmare that has been unfolding piece by piece, promising an ending that does not soften its edges or offer easy comfort. This chapter positions itself as the point of no return, where the violence, fear, and psychological pressure that have defined the story finally converge. Everything teased and implied before is now dragged into the open, forcing both the characters and the audience to confront the true cost of surviving relentless terror. The film frames itself as a conclusion rather than a continuation, emphasizing inevitability, consequence, and the idea that some horrors are designed to follow you until there is nothing left to hide behind. At its core, this chapter continues the franchise's obsession with ordinary people trapped in extraordinary cruelty. The Strangers series has always thrived on the unsettling idea that terror does not need elaborate motives or grand explanations. Chapter 3 leans fully into that philosophy, sharpening it into something colder and more final. The film is structured to feel like the last stretch of a long, exhausting night where every decision matters and every mistake carries permanent consequences. The sense of being hunted is no longer just physical, it becomes psychological, as the characters begin to realize that escape may no longer mean survival. Madelaine Petsch returns as the emotional anchor of the story, carrying the weight of everything that has happened so far. Her character is no longer reacting purely out of fear, but is shaped by trauma, anger, and a growing understanding of the people hunting her. This evolution is central to the film's tension, as she is forced to balance survival instincts with the realization that the only way out may require confronting the violence head-on. Gabriel Basso brings a grounded intensity that contrasts sharply with the chaos surrounding him, portraying a character whose calm exterior masks deep internal conflict. Ema Horvath adds another layer of emotional complexity, representing the cost of being pulled into a nightmare you never asked for and cannot simply walk away from. The story moves with a deliberate pace, allowing dread to build through silence, empty spaces, and the constant feeling of being watched. Rather than relying on nonstop action, the film focuses on moments where nothing happens, stretching time to make the audience feel the same anxiety as the characters. Each sound becomes suspicious, each shadow potentially fatal. This approach reinforces the franchise's identity, reminding viewers that fear often lives in anticipation rather than impact. When violence does erupt, it is sudden, brutal, and deeply personal, reinforcing the idea that there are no safe zones left. As the plot unfolds, Chapter 3 begins to peel back layers that were previously left untouched. It does not aim to over-explain or humanize the antagonists, but it does offer a clearer sense of the rules governing their cruelty. The film explores patterns, rituals, and the disturbing consistency behind the violence, suggesting that what initially appeared random may follow a twisted logic. This realization becomes a turning point for the characters, as understanding the structure of the threat becomes the only possible weapon against it. The narrative places heavy emphasis on isolation, not just in physical terms, but emotionally. Trust becomes fragile, and alliances are tested under extreme pressure. Characters are forced to make decisions that will haunt them, choosing between self-preservation and loyalty. These choices drive the emotional core of the film, transforming it from a simple survival story into a meditation on what people are willing to sacrifice when pushed beyond their limits. The film does not shy away from showing the aftermath of these decisions, lingering on the emotional damage rather than rushing past it. Visually, the film maintains a stripped-down, grounded aesthetic that reinforces realism. The environments feel lived in, familiar, and therefore more terrifying when invaded. Darkness is used not as a hiding place, but as an active presence, swallowing spaces and erasing certainty. The camera often stays close to the characters, trapping the audience inside their perspective and denying any sense of safety. This intimacy makes every encounter feel invasive, as if there is no distance between the viewer and the threat. Sound design plays a crucial role in sustaining tension. Long stretches of near silence are punctuated by subtle noises that feel amplified by fear. Footsteps, breathing, and distant movements become sources of panic. When music does appear, it is minimal and restrained, designed to enhance unease rather than overwhelm it. This careful use of sound keeps the audience constantly alert, never allowing them to relax into predictability. The plot steadily tightens as the characters' options disappear. What begins as an attempt to escape gradually transforms into a confrontation with the reality that the nightmare may only end through direct confrontation. This shift changes the tone of the film, moving from desperation to grim determination. The characters are no longer simply running, they are trying to understand how to end something that feels designed to be endless. This thematic shift gives Chapter 3 its sense of finality, reinforcing that the story is building toward a definitive conclusion rather than another temporary escape. Facts surrounding the film emphasize its role as the closing chapter in a larger story. The title itself signals completion, inviting audiences to witness the end of a journey defined by fear and endurance. The marketing language focuses on resolution, promising answers not in the form of comfort, but in clarity. This is positioned as the moment where everything comes together, where the consequences of past actions can no longer be avoided or postponed. The cast is deliberately focused, keeping attention on a small group of characters to preserve intimacy and tension. Madelaine Petsch's performance is central, carrying the emotional weight of the narrative and reflecting the transformation of a character shaped by relentless terror. Gabriel Basso's presence adds a grounded counterbalance, offering moments of restraint and reflection amid chaos. Ema Horvath's role deepens the emotional stakes, representing vulnerability and resilience in equal measure. Together, the performances aim to make the horror feel personal, rather than abstract. As the story moves closer to its conclusion, the film raises questions about survival and meaning. It challenges the idea that enduring trauma automatically leads to strength or clarity. Instead, it presents survival as messy, painful, and morally complicated. The characters are not rewarded for their suffering, they are changed by it. This perspective aligns with the franchise's bleak worldview, reinforcing that some experiences leave permanent scars rather than triumphant lessons. The release date is positioned as a major moment for fans of the series and the horror genre as a whole. Set for a theatrical release on February 6, 2026, the film is framed as an event rather than a routine sequel. The timing underscores its role as a conclusion, inviting audiences to return to theaters for the final chapter of a story that has thrived on shared tension and collective fear. The theatrical experience is emphasized, suggesting that the film's atmosphere and intensity are designed to be felt on the big screen. Trailer material teases an ending without revealing its specifics, focusing instead on mood, dread, and the promise of resolution. The footage highlights isolation, pursuit, and confrontation, offering glimpses of heightened tension rather than explicit answers. The emphasis is on emotional stakes rather than plot details, reinforcing the idea that the true impact of the film lies in the experience rather than twists or revelations. This approach maintains mystery while signaling that the story is moving toward a decisive endpoint. Throughout the film, the antagonists remain defined by their unsettling calm and anonymity. Their presence is felt even when they are not on screen, shaping every decision the characters make. Chapter 3 does not attempt to soften or rationalize their behavior, preserving the chilling simplicity that has always defined them. This restraint ensures that the focus remains on the victims and their struggle, rather than shifting sympathy or attention toward the source of the violence. The ending is designed to resonate rather than shock for shock's sake. It aims to leave a lasting impression, forcing the audience to reflect on what they have witnessed and what it means to reach the end of such a journey. The film does not promise neat closure, but it does promise an ending that feels earned, shaped by the choices and sacrifices made along the way. This commitment to thematic consistency gives Chapter 3 its weight and purpose. In the broader context of the franchise, this chapter stands as a statement about the nature of fear. It reinforces the idea that the most terrifying threats are often the ones that do not seek recognition or justification. By concluding the story without betraying its core principles, the film aims to honor what made the series resonate in the first place. The emphasis remains on atmosphere, character, and the relentless pressure of being hunted rather than spectacle or excess. As the final images fade, the film leaves behind a sense of exhaustion and reflection. The journey has been harsh, unforgiving, and deliberately uncomfortable.
Chapter 3 embraces that discomfort, refusing to dilute its impact for the sake of easy satisfaction.
It positions itself as an ending that respects the intelligence and emotional investment of its audience, offering resolution without reassurance. The Strangers Chapter 3 ultimately presents itself as a closing chapter defined by inevitability. It is a story about facing what cannot be escaped, about confronting fear not to conquer it, but to survive it long enough to see the end. With its focused cast, restrained storytelling, and commitment to psychological horror, the film promises to deliver a conclusion that lingers well beyond its final moment, marking February 6, 2026, as the day this relentless nightmare finally reaches its end.